At this time, we'll call to order the Spatial Public Building Commission meeting. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer.
Here.
Commissioner Allen.
Here.
Commissioner Clickham. Commissioner Osterhaus.
Here.
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Here.
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Chairman Eilert.
Here. All are present. We do have a quorum. The first item on the agenda is to consider approval of the October 5, 2017 spatial meeting minutes. Are there any corrections or additions? If not, do I hear a motion to approve? Mr. Klicka made the motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Schaefer.
Aye.
Commissioner Allen.
Aye.
Commissioner Clickham. Commissioner Osterhaus.
Here.
Commissioner Ashcraft. Commissioner Brown.
Yes. Here. Aye.
Chairman Eilert.
Here then.
Motion carried unanimously. Item number 2.
Request for proposal number 2017-004. Consider authorizing a design-build contract with J.E. Dunn Construction to initiate schematic design development, and pre-construction services for the new Johnson County Courthouse in the amount of $4,232,000.
Mr. Reinhardt.
Good morning, Chairman Eilert and Commissioners. I'm Brad Reinhardt with the Facilities Department. This is a big deal today, and I'm very appreciative to be here before you recommending approval of this contract. A lot of work has gone into getting us to this point in the process, and I reviewed a lot of information with you last week on our selection process and in getting to a recommendation for a design-build team led by J.E. Dunn together with Trainer HL and Fentress. I thought I would run through this quickly, not make the full presentation this morning, but kind of review what we discussed last week that was in the presentation, if that's all right.
Be fine.
Figure out how to go page down here. There we go. So we started with kind of just an overview of the process, the timeline for our selection process that we went through. Touched on the 9-person selection committee that we had, and many of which are here this morning. We talked about other individuals that participated in the process on some level, including the interview process of the short list candidates. We spoke to our 2-step qualifications-based competitive process that began with an RFQ. Then we went to a short list, issued an RFP to those shortlisted teams, conducted extensive interviews for each of those teams, and they were scored on their performance in the interview process and their capabilities as documented in the RFP. So very extensive, robust process. We spoke a little bit about the, sorry, wrong button. We had 5 firms that responded to the RFQ. Then we went to the RFP process that included the interviews, shortlisted down to 3, went into detail about our interview process. Again, I believe it was very robust. I believe we received some compliments from all participants, both the successful team and some of the other teams too that thought we had a very good process as well. The evaluation committee scored individually based on the RFP, the interview, and their overall management plan and design approach to this significant project. This is how they scored, and then finally we reviewed our schedule with you. So one last thing, our again recommendation is the design build team led by J.E. Dunn Construction with Trainer HL and Fentress as part of the team. And so this morning we do have several folks here in the audience. First, Rick Davison with CGL, our design criteria consultant. They have been instrumental in helping us get to this point and putting together a criteria document that will be handed over to our design builder so that they can hit the ground running with design and get moving on construction shortly thereafter. Kirk Sherman with Newmark Grubb Zimmer, our owner's rep. They've been instrumental in helping us with the site and the contracts and maintaining and managing the schedule and the budget. So they've been a great partner to us as well. And then Dan Rowe with Trainer HL, Jeff Lane with Trainer HL. Where's Kyle McQuiston with J.E. Dunn Construction? And then I mentioned we had several in the audience that were part of the evaluation committee. They're here as well. And so with that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions or have others respond as well.
Brad, could you give us a short timeline from this point, approving this contract as recommended? What steps would need to be taken to bring us to a shovel in the ground, groundbreaking, let me put it that way?
We will go through schematic design and then design development, and we anticipate, and I'll look for head nods to my right, we anticipate that we'll be able to establish some early construction packages, so potentially might be able to get started on the site and the footings and foundations prior to completion of the entire design of the building. So that will occur over the first half of 2018. We anticipate groundbreaking in the second quarter, late second quarter of 2018.
Okay. And then construction, what time period? Is it 2 years, 3 years?
About a 2.5 year.
Yeah, November of 19.
2.5 years. So, J.E. Dunn and the design build team have suggested there may be some opportunities. We'll be pressing for those opportunities to accelerate the schedule. Right now, we're anticipating late 2020 for substantial completion. So we'll be working very diligently to look for opportunities to improve upon that, because certainly time is money. This is a very significant project, as you're very well aware.
Just a reminder, there is one other contract that needs to be secured.
Yes, we'll be going for commissioning, and that is the testing and validation of the building systems. Typically, your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems. Will also be looking at validating that the building envelope is performing as designed, and that has to do with leakage, thermal heat transfer. That our design builder will specify and design the building based on our performance criteria, and the commissioning agent will validate that the design and the construction are in compliance with our criteria.
When do you anticipate that contract would be coming before us?
We're going out for RFP here in November, so we'll put that out on the street, and then we think early January we'll have our commissioning agent on board. So we'll be back, and I think in January. Is that right, Dan?
All right.
February?
Thank you.
We'll be pushing to move quick.
Okay. Other questions, Mr. Ashcraft?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of things, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I don't know if you knew, but Reinhardt is German, and the translation of Reinhardt is strong counsel. And I would suggest that Mr. Reinhardt has done a yeoman's job, he and his team. I suspect that there may be other jurisdictions in this region who wish they'd had a process that was a little bit more of a Reinhardt than what they came up with. So good job to you and your team. A couple of questions, though, and we visited yesterday, and I was hoping we might get a little bit of elaboration. Could you talk a little bit, or have someone visit with us a little bit on the team exercise? And I was asking Mr. Strong Counsel yesterday the relationship between that exercise and actual performance of the project, and how that works, and why we used a technique like this. Could you give us a 3-minute synopsis or some direction?
I'll give you a minute, and maybe if Rick Davidson wouldn't mind responding. I think they brought this idea to us, something they've experienced on both sides of the table. They've as a responder to a proposal, as well as our consultant in helping us set up our selection process as well. But so the interview process was a sheet that was handed out to each of the shortlisted teams during the interview. It was a 90-minute duration in exercise. It was questions and I believe scenarios related to design, pre-design or pre-construction, construction, and then public engagement. And so this information was handed to them cold, and we wanted to observe how they reacted and worked together as a team. So we could have, and we had, as part of our process, set questions prior to getting into this exercise. We asked them standard questions of each of the teams, and so we could have just continued on with more questions, but we decided to make it into a form of an exercise where we see how they work together, how they divide and conquer, and then how they respond in the end. Do they engage us as the owner in the process as well? And so, Rick, I don't know if you have anything to add, if you'd like to, or.
I would just like to have a comment about the community involvement. What do you anticipate there?
Well, as soon as we have some renderings or sketches or drawings ready to show, which I think we'll have in the first half of 2018, we'll want to have public information opportunities to receive feedback. Certainly we'll have lots of sessions with the City of Olathe. So that's one element. I think we'll be looking to with opportunities for with J.E. Dunn for make sure we're opportunities for participation in this project are provided to all throughout the region. So those are a couple of things, but typically, public information, public engagement sessions, revealing our design concepts, where we're headed with this building, and obtain feedback. And
Okay. All right, thank you.
One more
Yes, go ahead.
point, please, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Reinhardt, the other question I was curious about, and maybe this is best directed towards the purchasing agent, I'm not sure, but especially in circumstances like this, especially when we have two strong contenders, and I have every confidence in J.E. Dunn, but we had two strong contenders. Do we ever consider or ever use a process of going back to the finalists and asking them for a best and final offer? I do consulting work nationwide, nothing like this, of course, but that is fairly common from organization to organization. Is there something that forbids us from doing that, or why we did it this way as we did? And I'm just kind of trying to understand.
I don't know if there's anything specific that forbids us from doing that. It's certainly our practice not to do that. I think when we put out a request for a fee proposal, the expectation is we want your best and final there. The information that was received back in this case of this project was certainly reviewed by Newmark Grubb Zimmer and CGL, others who have expertise and experience not only in our region but throughout the country, and so they can look at the fee percentages for general conditions, for example, and say, yeah, that's in line with what's going on here in the county. So to answer your question, we did not, and we do not typically go back out and try to negotiate. If something was out of whack, we would certainly ask some questions. If something appeared to be out of the norm or higher than what we've experienced in the past, we would pursue that, but not just to see if we can get things lowered down a little bit.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Is there any member of the team who would like to make any comments to the commission? All right, other questions? Is there anyone present who would like to address the building commission members on this issue? All right, there's no one else to be heard. The item is back before the commission. Mr. Klicka?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'm really pleased to make this motion. Looking forward to a fall 2019 opening. You obviously know where my feelings are.
There's a
With that being said,
there somewhere.
With that being said, I move to authorize a design-build contract with J.E. Dunn Construction to initiate schematic, design development, and pre-construction services for the new Johnson County Courthouse in the amount of $4,232,000 per request for proposals RFP 2017-004.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the proposal as noted. Any further questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Discussion? Excuse me, Mr. Klicka.
Mr. Chairman, I do want to make a final note here. As I send a lot of kudos to the staff and that stands for all the efforts that they've done to get this project moving, going through a very competent selection process and moving this forward. But I was remiss in expressing my appreciation to probably the hundreds of people that have been involved in this project over the last couple of years, through committees, advisory committees, staff. I think through the process we understood that there were thousands of hours spent in preparation of where we are today. And for that, on behalf of the Commission too, I'd like to extend that thank you to all those that are out there. Thank you.
Well, I would simply add, we would not be at this point without the support of majority of the taxpayers in Johnson County. who supported the need for a new courthouse and approved the quarter-cent sales tax funding. And so I think this contract award, I believe, supports the confidence that vote presented to all of us. And there's been a lot of work gone before. There's still a lot of work left to do. So we'll look forward to continuing this process over the next year and a half. Is that right?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
But that being said, we better vote on this pretty quick.
Let's close this down now and move on.
Mr. Ashcraft.
Mr. Chairman, I will add that both you and District Attorney Howell deserve a lot of credit for your efforts to push this item forward. So Mr. Howell is in the back, so I want to make sure he's also recognized. So thank you.
Absolutely. I kind of miss our breakfast and lunches together, Steve.
I felt like I went through a divorce. Oh!
Well, I don't know. There were only 75 or 80 joint presentations, so thank you all very much. All right, the motion is before us. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Aye.
Commissioner Allen.
Aye.
Commissioner Clickham.
Aye.
Commissioner Osterhaus.
Aye?
Commissioner Ashcraft.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Aye.
And Chairman Eilert.
Aye, motion carried. That concludes our agenda. Thank you very much. Thank you. We are adjourned from the Spatial Public Building Commission. We'll take a short break and come back for agenda review for next week's meeting.